Hi, I'm Carpenter, and I lead product marketing for Google Cloud. I just want to say, I'm so excited to see these products. We have a lot of products in our portfolio, well over 100 different products. And just to level set, for those of you who don't know our product set, we have Google Cloud Platform, of which file store and file transfer are part of that. We also have G Suite, which is our collaboration and productivity suite. And we have Maps, and we also have Devices and Mobility. So it's a pretty broad and deep suite. We actually ship over 1,400 products a year, so it's pretty tremendous. I'm so excited about the customers because all these products mean nothing without customers who actually solve business problems. I'd love to invite the 4 customers up, and we'll do quick introductions. Come on up. So I'm going to lead you down. Do you mind sitting in the same order? Just, sorry. Kind of keep it easy for everybody. Okay, great, perfect. Perfect, thank you. Well, welcome. We obviously couldn't be here without you all. We really appreciate your being a customer and really helping us develop Google Cloud to where it is today. Can we just each do quick intros, tell us who you are, which Google Cloud products you use, and just quick introduction.
Excellent. So hi, everyone. I'm Pratik. I'm SVP of Technology at eHarmony, and I run all engineering and operations functions. And currently, we are running evaluation of Google Cloud to see how we can consider Google Cloud as a platform for moving workloads of eHarmony into the cloud.
Super. Thank you.
Great. I'm Brian Fries. I look after the analytical data systems for Universal Music. We are pretty big customers of BigQuery, Bigtable, App Engine, Compute Engine. We've been with Google Cloud now for about two and a half years.
Fantastic.
Hi, I'm Steve Kowalski. I'm head of systems engineering for Sony Imageworks. We are currently Google Cloud customers using Compute Engine and G Suite.
Ted Ross, Chief Information Officer at the City of Los Angeles, a long-time Google Suite user since 2010. Also leverage Google Cloud, as well as we've been piloting things like Google Home, et cetera, for virtual assistants. I'm proud to have an IT department that is around 450 folks and is support around 48,000 city employees.
That's impressive. City of LA, thank you. I know it's a lot of work what you do. So let's start with you, Ted. Can you tell us, what does the opening of the Google Cloud region here in LA mean for you?
You know, as a customer, probably like much of you, the discussion is high speed, low latency, excellent cloud services that are regional and very close. But certainly as an Angelino, I think there's a lot more to it. We love the idea of jobs and economic development. That's big for us. And I think on a larger scale, it really represents LA and what LA has become as a tech hub. You know, 6, 7 years ago, we really weren't talking about LA as a big tech center. But when you look at it in the last several years, we have, you know, our media companies are showing over and over again that we're the creative capital of the world. We have billions of venture capital coming in every year into Los Angeles. And even when you look at something like a tech fair, we have the largest tech fair in the Western United States, at Tech Fair LA, with 15,000 participants and 250 companies just a few months ago. I think really what this represents on a bigger scale is just how much Google's investment in Los Angeles really shows what we've all been doing in Los Angeles. And we know that LA is a great tech center.
Awesome, thank you. Steve, now to you. Tell us a little bit about what this opening means for you, because in your case, with Sony Pictures Imageworks, you're rendering lots of data on a real-time basis. It's like having a cloud CPU, GPU render farm right under your desk, right?
Yeah, it literally is. I mean, I wish it had come sooner. Yeah, like, you know, we see ourselves making use of that data center for things like workstations to, you know, be able to tailor machines to specific artists that we have in our LA offices. Our Sony Pictures Animation, we support that group. They're entirely based here in LA, and they're really gonna love this. I mean, they today use G Suite in ways they should actually be using the Google Cloud, and part of the reason why they don't do that is because of latency. So the fact that we just made latency go away is gonna be really great for them. Lastly, all of our clients are based here in LA, and this data center is going to allow us to extend services to them in a much more secure manner than we've traditionally been able to. So we're super excited about it.
Great, thank you. And Brian, you use BigQuery to help understand what kind of music people want to dance to, right? Tell us what this opening means for you, and maybe if you could just talk about maybe a recent project.
Sure, absolutely. So, I mean, for one, really excited that Google chose, the media and entertainment capital of the world, Los Angeles, to house its newest data center, because I think, as PH was saying, 40% faster, and that appliance that's sitting over there would have been really, really nice about 2 years ago when we were moving petabytes of data into the cloud. But I mean, one of the things that all of our users notice right away with BigQuery or Bigtable or the apps that we're building on top of Compute Engine or App Engine is how quick and how performant it is. I mean, I hear that all the time. And to know that we're going to have that here in our home now, because before I think we were using data centers that were maybe located in central United States, Virginia or whatever, but to have that available here now is just, it shows the dedication that Google has to making us successful, and really looking forward to continuing that.
Awesome. And Pratik,
So
I know you're in the evaluation stage, as you pointed out. I'd love to hear, when you look at the projects and how you think about the LA region.
So I think it's really important for us as we consider this evaluation journey to just have them in our backyard, especially when it comes to data migration and how we actually execute the overall migration. Having them right there, and as I learned that they are in the same building as our data center, that makes it a tad bit easier as well.
Yeah, that's great. I'd love to hear from each of you a little bit about your recent projects. Tell a recent anecdote, a story around how you're using Google Cloud for a specific business problem. I think you've alluded to them, but maybe get a little more specific. Maybe Ted?
When you think about engaging government, let's be clear. Government is not at the top of your list for that great digital service and that great engagement. I work for Mayor Eric Garcetti, and if anyone's ever heard him talk, he's definitely a tech mayor. And I think one thing that's extremely important from our perspective is to change the way, when you have 4 million residents like you do in LA, they're not interacting with government by going to City Hall, right? They're connecting with us online, they're connecting with us through a smartphone, they're connecting with us when they want to connect with us, how they want to connect with us. So one thing we've been leveraging, we've been piloting the idea of Google Home as a virtual assistant. Because the reality is, yes, you could pick up the phone and call 301 and call a call center. Yes, you could use the MyLA mobile app to be able to maybe request a pothole get filled or get graffiti taken. Yeah, we've got all those means. But to have something in your living room where you can sit there and say, okay, Google, and talk to the city of Los Angeles and get information or get an issue resolved in your block, that's what we're working towards. So the concept of virtual assistants we find to be a fascinating way for us to bring city services and city government into someone's living room.
Are you worried they might ask for things like, hey, City of LA, I need more water for my lawn? you might get more than you ask for.
If you ever had to listen in to 911 calls and you hear about people complaining that they didn't get barbecue sauce at the drive-thru, you hear about people who say they're looking for a date, so it likely will just be more of that.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Stephen? Tell us about a recent project.
Yeah, I mean, we just wrapped up a project, Hotel Transylvania 3, which is going to be in the theaters here soon. For that, we used burst rendering, and we used the Google Cloud for that. So usually maybe 3 times a day, we would load up our rendering queue and launch several thousand preemptible VMs in the Google Cloud. Get the results back, get it into review, get feedback to artists, and then 4 hours later, the same thing would happen. So effectively, what it allowed us to do is sort of speed up that cycle of where artists are iterating and getting feedback, allowed us to double the size of our render farm and do it, for a period of about 8 weeks. So it really has been a game changer for us, it's also allowed the filmmakers more creative leeway, more freedom to make changes. It condenses our schedule and our resource requirements go up, but you guys are there to fill that hole for us. So it's been really great.
Thank you. Brian.
So we have two big projects that we've done in the last 2 years. One being around BigQuery. So the music and entertainment industry is rooted around a lot of creativity and artistic expression. And it's probably not surprising to many that terms like big data or machine learning or statistical probabilities haven't really been the first or even third thought in most conversations. But that had to change for us because the digital music era came about and it really changed our business model. And we realized that we had to tap into this treasure trove of data that was available from streaming music services to social media to advertising campaigns. And we needed to make that data accessible for not just a small little handful of analysts at our center, but across all of our labels and across all of our territories throughout the world. We're a global company. So we made the decision a couple of years ago to migrate our data warehouse and our data infrastructure from on-prem to the cloud. And we explored a couple options. We spent a couple months, and it became very clear very quickly that Google was going to beat out the competition both on cost as well as performance. We were one of the earlier adopters of BigQuery, and we've seen it grow and mature in incredible ways. And we now have, instead of before, I think we had maybe 20 analysts within the company globally who are using SQL and accessing data natively. We now have over 220. I checked this morning. So it's a huge improvement. We have people accessing the data and being able to answer questions on the fly.
Can you share an insight? Like, what have you learned from your data? Tell us an insight about a musician, or if you're allowed to share.
I have to be careful about that. But what I can tell you is that we have a better picture of who our consumers are than we've ever had before. Before, we used to sell CDs or vinyls or tapes back in the day, and we knew where something was sold, when it was sold, and how many were sold, and that was it. We didn't really know if somebody listened to that record, that track, 1 time, 5 times, 500 times, and we didn't really know where it was being consumed. Today, we're able to stitch together a 360-degree picture of our consumers, and we're able to sign compelling artists and deliver the hits that they want in the right time, at the right place, and really cater to our consumers in every market throughout the world.
That's great segmentation and ability just to pinpoint. That's pretty phenomenal. Master of Love, tell us. What is your most recent project?
Yeah, so I think as part of this evaluation, what we did is we took our notification system, which sends you all sorts of notifications on your mobile phones, and we moved it up in Google Cloud as a way for us to prove out how can we really take our development pipeline and optimize it for CI/CD. Rapid application development is really important to us, and how we can take containers, Kubernetes, and then help that, use that as a way for us to speed up our delivery. But the real promise that we look at on what we can get from Google Cloud is that our product is really driven by machine learning. And how can we take, once our applications are in the cloud and our data is in the cloud, take some of those functionalities that Google has to offer and make our product better? Like what kind of work we can do with photos, how can we use natural language processing to try and make some sort of a dating wingman? And those are some of the possibilities that we want to explore and use services on the cloud to scale our machine learning operations.
That's great. And since you're in the consideration phase, I'm going to ask the rest of the gentlemen here to sell you a little. No, actually, I just really would love to hear. You had lots of choices, right? We're not the only cloud in town for either applications for collaboration or for actual infrastructure and platform as a service. As you thought about it, and you talked about it a little bit in your consideration phase, why Google Cloud? PH talked about the most secure, bringing intelligence to bear, collaboration, the openness. What really resonated with you? What were the decision factors? Maybe start here. put you on the spot, Brian.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Well, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, it became very clear during our 3, which turned into 6-month POC phase, that Google was beating out the competition both in terms of cost as well as performance. I'll be honest, Google didn't have the most mature product as far as data warehousing is concerned when stacked against the competitors, but it didn't matter because we've seen Google in so many other areas deliver a very, very mature product and a very well thought out product, and so we weren't concerned by that at all. I guess, you know, the other thing that helped us really, that sealed the deal, if you will, was Google's dedication to making sure that we were successful. I've worked in technology for over 10 years. I've worked with a lot of big names, including big names in the cloud. I've never seen a company more dedicated to our success than Google. I mean, they've been there every step of the way, and we definitely appreciated it.
Brian, I couldn't have said that better. Thank you. That was really great. Stephen.
It's really the same. I mean, we've been engaged with Google, I think, going back to 2010. I think we went to G Suite around the same time you guys did. And we've always felt, you know, very well taken care of, really well supported. We were engaged with Google before there was even, you know, GCP. So talking about potential use cases. So we've had this dialogue with Google for a very long time. The day finally did come when we could actually make use of it, and that continued. You know, it was also we evaluated all of them. It was the most performant. You know, you guys always came in and said, "Hey, we have the most robust platform," and we thought, well, of course you're going to say that, but it really was true. And the price, you know, was great. So, you know, high performance, very robust, right products, simple to use, well documented and well supported. All that for us really makes the difference.
Cool.
You know, at the risk of sounding like a cliche, it's not so much we're buying technology, but we're buying innovation. And that's what we found in Google. So when we made the decision to go with G Suite, we weren't just getting email and calendar, we were getting collaboration tools. We're getting abilities for employees to not have to drive between city offices to be able to meet over, let's say, Google Meet. The ability for an employee to not have to ask IT to build a website or to create a simple form and to share it with others. Those are the kinds of capabilities that they're easy to underestimate, but then when you have them, you start to realize that you're innovating your workforce. And when you have a large workforce, 48,000 people who serve 4 million people, even just a few percentage points of innovation leads to dramatic innovation, better city services, and people get more for their money when they're paying their taxes. So ultimately, for us, we felt like in a lot of ways that a partnership with Google was a partnership with innovation and continue to innovate for our workforce.
You know, I've heard that from many customers, and so I'd love to just drill down on that. When you talk about innovation for the rest of you, how does Google Cloud help you with what's next or what you're thinking about in terms of innovation? Can you share a little bit about what you're doing, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, we have a multi-year strategy to essentially be able to do business, so hire talent, you know, anywhere where that talent may be, you know, whether that be in the United States or in the other, you know, visual effects and animation centers around the globe, which you guys ironically are well positioned in those areas with local data centers. So we're, you know, we have a long road in front of us, but we feel, you know, we feel very strongly that we're going to get there. You guys have the right people who understand what it is that we're trying to do. You have people who have worked in our business and understand our day-to-day, who, you know, also think like we do and think big. So the idea that, again, we could tailor and individualize resources for artists, that's something that we can't do today because we own and operate our own infrastructure and we don't know what's going to happen in the future. You know, those sorts of things are taking advantage of all the security tools that you guys have. You know, there's the whole offering. There's so much to leverage there to, you know, expand our business, to create better product, to attract better artists. You know, it's really great.
It's great. Thank you, Brian.
So we made a decision a couple years ago to move from, descriptive analytics, reporting the news, to prescriptive analytics, and really being able to understand what to do next. And we've been on that journey for a while now. And we have, some data scientists, we have analysts, we've got a fairly robust infrastructure now. But what we realized within the last couple of years is that we needed to empower everyone in the company, all the way from our artists, our A&R managers who are out there signing the acts, to the marketeers, the finance teams, everyone, and they're not all going to have the same skill sets that these data scientists or these analysts have. So one thing that we're rapidly doing right now is tapping into compute engine, app engine, big table. We're building very performant applications, because if they're not performant, no one's going to use them, especially an artist. They're not going to have the time to do that. They've got to focus on their craft. But if they can take a quick look at their their iPhone or their Google phone or whatever it is.
Android phone.
Android phone. There we go. Oops. No,
Okay, we like iPhones. We have applications that work on iPhone as well.
No, but if they can get onto their phone or their tablet or whatever and get an insight as to what they should be doing to make the next big hit, that is insanely valuable. It makes sure that our artists are going to remain commercially viable for years to come, and that is hugely important now in streaming. The other things that we're doing is we're tapping into the APIs that Google has available. It's the stuff of like Star Trek from years ago, where you can use the natural language API to automatically translate into different languages. So there's use cases there for closed captioning of music videos. There's the Vision API, which allows us to, we're doing some POCs right now around identifying different artifacts, chirons, logos, et cetera, in music videos and concert footage, so we can flag that. So having somebody sit behind a video monitor and look at every single second of every frame of every video, being able to put that through Google's cloud is really some good opportunities there for us.
That's a great use case, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. And Pratik, I know you're early in your journey.
Yeah, I think so. So for us, I think first and foremost, how can we move to the cloud and then focus our energies towards application development? That will be the first order of business. And then once our data is in the cloud, then we'll take these tools that are available in the cloud to try and process this massive data. Like, we are a 17-year-old company, we have a lot of data collected. So how can we process that at scale and then turn this into data-driven products? What kind of products that we can build that are not possible today? Because we cannot process our data, we cannot find the insights that we want to find in near real time. If we can start doing that, then we can turn them into user-facing products that we can then serve our users better.
Yeah, you have millions of users, so you have lots of data. 17 years.
17 years.
eHarmony, 17 years. That's blink of an eye. So Stephen, you said something about security, and I want to come back to that because it's obviously a really important part is keeping your data secure. By default, we encrypt data at rest and in motion. We do a lot of other things around security. I think the question on many people's minds is about security and trust. And how do you decide, which cloud to trust, which partner to trust? And I think in the government in particular, this is probably a little more hairy when it comes to control, compliance, protection. Could you just talk a little bit about how you thought about security when you looked at Google Cloud? Ted?
Certainly. Being a government, we manage a lot of very sensitive data. We have HIPAA data. We've got information on undercover police officers. It's a very long list. It's the get Ted fired list if anything ever happens to it. Of course, a lot worse happens than just Ted getting fired. But the reality is it's an extremely important litmus test for us. But one thing that we find when it comes to cloud providers is their investment in security is massive. These are organizations that if they didn't invest heavily in security, they would be completely and utterly out of business. So we find that the security, generally speaking, from someone like a Google is significantly better than what I could actually provide in my own data center. So while it might be something that is close to me and I can touch it and I can rub it and I can hold that server and feel very good about it, the reality is the security is actually significantly better. But what we find from our perspective is security is really a holistic conversation. And what's difficult for us something we've had to certainly learn and grow. We're 92 workloads in the cloud and counting. But something that's been very important for us is just our ability to approach the model differently. Cloud is really not a technology conversation, but it's a completely different business model. So we have to move our security out across secured networks. We're extending a data center in so many ways. So really for us, the security conversation, half of it's really on us. And so it's partnering with good partners. We've worked a lot with folks like SADA Systems. We work with Google and others to try to really help make sure that the cloud experience is a good experience and that we're not having any issues with any type of data breaches or opening up any data. But I think generally speaking, security has actually been a pro when it comes to the cloud conversation as opposed to a con.
Super. Okay. Anyone else want to comment on that, on the security or trust aspect? You did already. Don't need to. We've got lots of other things to talk about. I'd love to hear a little bit, Stephen, I'd love to hear about, Ted, what you're doing with Google Maps.
Oh.
Because I think Maps is obvious. It's changed my life. Like when
Yeah.
people ask me, like, what 2 or 3 apps do you use every day?
Sure.
Google Maps. So.
When you think government, you think consumable digital services, though, that completely engage you and enthrall you, right? For those who are local, you've certainly been hearing about the fires that we had, like around the holiday season. So, there used to be a saying that you used to have fire season, right? Where fire departments were watchful, et cetera. Fire season is year-round. So, November, December timeframe, we had massive fires here in Southern California, some of the largest. And at one point, I actually received a call from the mayor in which they said, we're going to have to evacuate up to 250,000 people. But we had multi-station fires occurring at the same time. And said, if we're going to be doing that, we need to get the word out. And it's got to be better than just telling a TV station, telling a radio station, et cetera. And we've actually been something that we've been prepping for a while. It has to do with crisis mapping. So really with just a few very simple layers to show you where you are when you use Google Maps, you've got that covered. To show you the evacuation areas, to show you shelters, even animal shelters, right? We have fires in places where people have horses and dogs, et cetera. So simply a few layers, we're able to get maps up within an hour. And within 36 hours, we had 3.5 million views on those maps. And so when you think in the world of government, 3.5 million of anything usually doesn't happen when it comes to the types of digital services you had. But simply taking something that we all take for granted and have available, like a Google map, but leveraging it in a crisis situation had dramatic return for us. So we were able to very quickly provide information to people when they needed to know it, where they needed to know it, at a time that was a horrible crisis for them, so that it's easy for them to consume, and just simply of saying, hey, where do I live? Where do I need to evacuate? And if I do need to evacuate, where do I go? It actually had a tremendous impact for us, and that was just 6 months ago or so.
Yeah, thank you for that example. Stephen, you work with creative types all around the world. You mentioned that earlier. How does G Suite help you? How do you actually use it in a day-to-day operational way to drive collaboration?
It's used at every level. So we leverage the APIs and a lot of the automated processes. So we'll automatically update spreadsheets with statuses on things. Sometimes those spreadsheets are shared with our clients. We use Google Meet to engage with our clients. Our artists all use it. We have offices here in LA, and our headquarters now is up in Vancouver, British Columbia. So we have teams on projects split between the two facilities. Maybe some of those artists have never even been physically in the same room with one another, but are familiar and work kind of shoulder to shoulder, leveraging that communication suite. I mean, I have people on my engineering team. I have engineers in Canada, engineers down here in LA. Some of those folks, they've never been in the same room with one another. Yet we all interact like we've always known each other. I mean, it's super powerful stuff, from chat to video chat to shared docs. Once people get the hang of it and they adjust to it, it's like there's no going back. It's really powerful.
Thank you. Transformative.
Yeah.
So we're running low on time. I'm going to give you a choice to answer one of two questions. I didn't tell you about this. So I like the game Mad Libs. You know Mad Libs? So you can either fill out this, Google Cloud is blank, or share with us what's next in terms of what you plan to do with Google Cloud. So we'll start with you, Pratik.
Okay, so
you
I'd
can
say
choose to answer either one.
Google Cloud is catalyst for change in our organization.
Catalyst for change. Thank you. Brian.
Google Cloud is awesome. How about that? Nice and easy. You're short on time.
Only in LA. Awesome. Okay.
He stole mine.
Maybe share with us, like, what's next? You're doing so much.
Yeah, I
so,
figured. Yeah, I mean, I think the next step for us, which is a major inflection point, is we will likely start moving our data into the cloud. So we've typically just done compute to present, and I see the next big step for us to move data into the cloud, and then we'll.
Did you see the thing we just showed over there?
Oh, we've tried it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So cloud file store, it's great.
Thank you.
From our perspective, IoT, machine learning, artificial intelligence, whatever terms you want to apply around it, cities are massive data sets. Connected street lights, connected parking meters. There's just a very long list of data we collect. And our ability to be a smarter city, another buzzword that people like to put out there, but our ability to truly be a smart city that effectively leverages technology and data to make your commute better, to make you safer, to make you have a better life in Los Angeles, that holds tremendous value. And cloud has a tremendous value add, not just that it's storing your data, but that's going to provide us greater insight into our data and help us make policy decisions around that. So we really hold a lot of hope in that area.
Well, thank you. I want to give these guys a huge round of applause. Fabulous.